Awesome. All right, welcome everyone. This is Abby Gooch at the Intuition to Income Global Summit. And thanks for staying with us. We're so glad that you're all here. This is just building and the momentum is incredible. Today I have a dear soul friend with me online, and her name is Connie Stewart. And she, seriously, I don't know what it is about her, but she is connected to the ethers, man. And she is definitely going to take us on a wild ride. And what I love about Connie is she's so grounded. You know, she's so grounded in this physical, quote unquote, real world. But she's just so wise. She seriously just feels like a wise woman in my life. So I'm just so grateful to have her on the show. And Connie, I would love you to introduce yourself to our audience. Just tell us a little about you. I already know about you, but let our audience know about you. And then we'll move right into the interview.
Sure. Well, I'm so happy to be here with you today, Abby, and all the others. I am what many consider a clairvoyant medium. I'm a healer. Bottom line is I'm psychic. I can't deny it. It's not a word that a lot of people like anymore because we think of crystal balls and incense burning and long fingernails. But maybe you might call me a modern day shaman, which basically means that I can see into the past and I see the present and I see into the future, and I'm able to connect with people who've crossed over. But at the end of the day, it's all about movement of energy, reading energy, sensing energy, clearing energy, healing energy. These are the things that speak to my heart because it helps advance us as a civilization, and it helps advance our planet.
Very cool. Well, thank you. And Connie, you're working with individuals in the San Diego area, and you also have a global practice as well where you can see people via phone anywhere. Is that right?
That's very true. I work largely with locals, but that has expanded to the rest of the country and out of the country as well. You know, with video and phone, it makes it so easy. And quite frankly, I don't really need to speak to someone, see them, know them to connect. If I have a name, I can connect in any modality, in any form.
Very cool. Awesome. So Connie, being an intuitive and a medium, a psychic, I love it. It's kind of a scary word sometimes, but it is so true. What is it and how has intuition played a role in your life?
Well, you know, it started very young. I grew up in the South. I'm from New Orleans, and unfortunately had a traumatic childhood. It was an abusive environment. And without realizing it, I think that I used my abilities to jump out of my body to stay safe in a certain way. You know, your body could undergo things, but if you're out of your body, your spirit and your mind even could stay safe. So I think I practiced it for survival. Very, very early as a child, but didn't realize I was doing it and thought everybody did it, and didn't know that there was any difference about the way I perceived my world, probably till I was into my late 20s, maybe 30s. And then I began to not like it so much because I picked up on a lot of things that were going to happen. And an undeveloped psychic mind is like a 4-year-old child. It likes the train wrecks. It picks up on the exciting but not so happy events, you know, because the psychic mind likes to be entertained. So I didn't like it. And it was a little bit later then that I actually set about developing it, you know, on purpose and with purpose to help other people.
Wow. Yeah, you know, I love how often our greatest challenges become our biggest gifts, you know, and
Right.
it is seeing that silver lining and understanding that the universe isn't against us, that our soul is that powerful that it could create an experience to then bring forth that which is within us. And that really is what intuition is that, that link to source from within us. So
Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the clearer that we keep ourselves, the higher our vibration, the healthier we live, you know, eating organics and limiting sugar and alcohol and things that don't serve the vessel. The more we practice good health physically and increase our vitality, I find the easier, quicker, and, you know, with greater ease, I can channel and bring in information. And it does require, though, you know, that commitment to our physical self as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just talking to Jennifer Jimenez before you on a previous interview, and she actually does something called Transcend Dance, which is about dancing and being in your body. And we both agreed that it really is to be very intuitive, it requires that physical, as you're saying, vitality and health, that really allows us to be that vibrance, and keep those channels clear and open. I work with something called the chakra system, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and just keeping our energy clear, is so vital.
Right. Well, very often when I work with private clients, I do what I call chakra readings. And, there's so many ways you can check into a person's energy to see what's going on. But when you look at each chakra one by one by one, you can see what's going on, how open or closed it is, what the trauma that may be held there is all about, and then clear it that way, because the chakras, in my opinion, should run like a river. From top to bottom, it should just flow. And when we get stuck and stagnant and traumatized, it's like putting little dams up in the river. So we got to clear those dams for vitality.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So true. So true. So, Connie, how do you connect with your intuition? Is there a certain process you use to just link in and connect to that?
Well, in the beginning, when I first started to formally use it, I did a lot of things that I read about, because I thought, well, this is how you do it, right? You get your crystals out and you sit in, meditation, and you put the music on. But, that all really kind of got in my way. And so the truth is, I close my eyes and I'm there. It's very fast for me now. It wasn't always so fast. But again, practicing spirituality and keeping the vessel clean and healthy makes it so much easier. So now I just, I call it forth. I just ask for what I want to know, and I get it. I get it. I feel very blessed. It's right there. The bridge, let's say the bridge, the bridge between the human and the other world, that beautiful etheric bridge, the bridge gets shorter as you use that muscle. So the bridge is very short for me now.
Yeah, so people who are just starting to get connected with their intuition, what would you advise them to start to create that bridge and that connection point?
Well, the first thing I would say is that all of the answers are there. And I have a visual that I like to share, and I'll share it with you and the audience today. And that is, if you think of a catcher, a baseball catcher, and the mitt that he wears for catching, and it's sort of webbed. If you ask your question and then visualize putting your glove up in the air, raising your arm and putting the glove in the air, and it's wide open, but it's webbed, the answer will slam right into it. So the first and most important thing in the beginning is waiting. Ask your question and then be patient. Don't rush to an answer just to please someone else or yourself, or to appease that 4-year-old psychic mind we have. So waiting for the answer, being patient. And then over time, focus then gets developed by practicing patience. So asking a question, putting the glove up, and being patient. And then trusting what you hear, even if it's goofy sounding.
Yeah, I love that. Patience is definitely something I'm working on cultivating. Do you have any intuitive guidance on how people can be patient without moving into anxiety or fear? Because sometimes it is that gap of not knowing where the mind can get activated. So where could you take them? I mean, I always tell people to go to their heart, but where could you take them in consciousness that would allow it to be really easy transition as they're waiting to cultivate that patience?
Well, that's a great question, and I think I have an answer that will appease the busy minds, and that is, and I used this myself in the beginning, I would picture a whiteboard like you'd find at the conference room in your office, and I would see all sorts of writing on the board, and then I would see my hand pick up the eraser and erase it all. And then I would be quiet. And then I'd see, as my thoughts were moving around in my head, I'd see little words start to form on the board. I'd pick the eraser up and I'd erase it again. So I kept myself busy erasing my thoughts until they really stopped showing up on the board. And usually by the time they didn't reappear, I was really ready to hear.
Yeah, I guess it is about being receptive, isn't it? Ready to hear the answer.
Yeah, and it, some people don't hear. I mean, I literally hear information. I see videos when I close my eyes, but everyone is different. So some people may get just simply the essence or the feeling of the answer. Some people might just know the answer. There's all forms of of being psychic, if you will. And some people might smell something or have a taste in their mouth, and that leads them to an answer. So, it's also being open and not putting ourselves in a box about how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah, I love that. Connie, I know that you actually came from a different background and were able to start building your business in this way, in this healing art form. Can you kind of talk about how your transition was? Because you're so connected now and you're able to access information so quickly. Can you talk about your transition from your old job, your corporate job, into now having a business, and how you were able to start creating an income, and what guidance you followed, if that was your intuition or what that was?
Well, certainly I was in corporate America for many years, and I did I was married and raised a child, and, all of the traditional things. And while that was okay, I always knew there was more, and I called it creativity, not even fully realizing it was my intuition. Excuse me. So at one point, I left corporate and I decided to take a part-time job so that I could have some real income, quote unquote, coming in, something solid, something steady. I think a lot of us can relate to this.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, I'll commit to the other half of the day, developing my abilities, doing readings, practicing on people, willing guinea pigs, which there were always plenty of wonderful people who allowed me to practice on them. But then I realized that even working part-time was taking too much of my time, because even a 4-hour-a-day job turns into 6 by the time you get up, get ready, get there. So I was tired when I finished that, and I wasn't devoting it. So there was a day when I said, I have to trust and I have to jump off the pier. It's scary, but I have to do it. And nothing in my bank account said it was wise to do it. And when I say nothing in my bank account, I'm not kidding. Nothing in my bank account. That's really a play on words, but it's true. But I did it. I made the jump. And when I jumped, when I actually fully committed, when I said, Spirit, I'm doing this, I'm trusting that I have a calling, I have a purpose, and that the gifts that I offer are not to be brought to corporate America per se, not in the way they're hiring me. And so I sort of jumped off and, then started slowly but surely to build a career. One of the ways that worked for me was I chose a community where I felt the community could use my service. I chose the gay and lesbian community, and I said, I am a friend of the community, and I know that there are issues here, like any community, of any specialized group, that I'd like to offer my services to. So I joined a networking group, and even though I'm not in the community as a participant, I have many now clients and friends in the community, and they have supported me and loved me, and I have loved them. And it's been a lovely connection because I chose a group to focus on. So I did my marketing was, to that group. I showed up to the meetings. I went to a lot of community events. I offered my services when they were doing raffles. I did all kind of fun things. And so then, of course, it's grown, outside of that community. But what a great place to start. People who are saying, you know what, yes, we want to understand more about ourselves, about our life, about our community. So, and then it just took off after that.
Wow. I love that you found a community, because I feel like that really is the missing piece for a lot of people, is they have these amazing gifts and then it's like, well, who did this serve? And so the fact that you felt the calling and then felt called to serve a certain community in business, as we call it a niche or a niche.
Right.
But I love just the word community, that you reached out to the community and it was a link, it was a connection. And, I want to mention, you want to have your team, right, that works with you, and then the community that you serve. So maybe for, everyone watching this show to start to think about, where can your gifts serve? What area, what community can your gifts be of service to? And Connie, you're such a perfect example of saying, hey, this is what I do. This is who I am. I see there's a fit here. I'm here to serve, and that really is when selling does become a service, because you're giving them something that they want and you're getting to share who you are.
Yes, right. I think it was a win-win all the way around. I mean, you're right. I got to be me, and I didn't have to pretend to be the corporate, sales and marketing gal anymore. I could really stand tall in what I think I do best, and I say, how could I get so lucky? I love what I do. This is not work for me. Every session I do, whether I'm clearing a space, I do a lot of work for realtors, and when they're listing homes, I go in private homes. When I clear a space, I'm reading the home. When I clear a person, I'm reading the person. It's like reading the novel of that person or that property every time. How could I ever be bored? I mean, I read many novels every week. It's quite exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's so great. That's so great. So, Connie, in your practice of serving this community and being who you are, what are the miracles that you've seen happen in your business and in your life as you've been following your intuition?
Wow, that's a big question. There's so many.
I
There's so
know.
many. The most recent biggie that was a personal situation for me is I had done a lot of work for one client, and it was very big. And right after that work, I developed spontaneously, so they say, a hole in the retina of my right eye. And it was very scary because, a hole in your retina is not something you hear about on a regular basis. So I found a doctor, a specialist, who absolutely scared me to death. I left crying every time, and I just kept saying, Spirit, I am on a mission to see the goodness of men, since I came from a father who could not be that. My whole life, I've, especially the last many years, been looking for the goodness in men. It's that's my side calling.
Mm.
So this not so nice doctor with a horrible bedside manner, who said, if you don't do something soon, you'll lose your vision. He scared me, and I prayed and all of that, but it was still upsetting. Well, one day I had another symptom that I needed to go in quickly. My doctor wasn't there, and I got to see this lovely young Dr. Scaff, who was new to the office. And when I walked into his room, he hugged me. A stranger, a Western medicine doctor, hugged me and said, welcome. Long story short, the $7,500 cash discount price I had been quoted 2 weeks before, because at that time I had no vision insurance, this doctor said, that's ridiculous. And he made some calls, and he did this and he did that, and he came back into the room, and long story short, he said, I'd like to do this procedure in the office instead of the hospital. And you know what? I don't think we need to charge you $7,500. He said, I think $200 ought to cover it.
Wow.
And I was blown away. I have goosebumps telling you the story. Long story short, we did the procedure. It's very, they have to stick needles in your eyeball to put a gas bubble behind your eye. You have to lay down flat for 7 days, flat, like on a massage table, 24/7. So the gas bubble heals the hole. But the point I'm getting to is that when all was said and done, he said to me, Connie, I've never done this procedure in an office. You were my prototype. And since then, he's done many, for mostly women for some reason, and he charges next to nothing for it. Not because he's giving it away, but because he understands, that something that comes up that's an emergency. Not everyone has $7,500 laying around cash that they can just go in and put on the table. I think that he was actually is of an angelic form, and that he came to show me the goodness in men. He didn't know me, but he offered me the very best he could. And one last part of that is my cat, Rue, who was a big orange tabby, laid on the massage table with me for those 7 days, got up only to eat and go to the bathroom. When I got up and my right eye was healed, his right pupil became permanently dilated. I firmly believe he absorbed some of the trauma. And my eye doctor, my Western medicine eye doctor, agrees. Isn't that incredible?
Wow. I hope the cat gets healing too.
Well, we've worked on him, and I think he's 15 years old. He's okay doing it for me. He's very magical. We have a great connection. But, so the story for me had a lot of big and little miracles all rolled up into it.
Yeah.
My eye is fine. I had complete healing.
Wow. Well, you look beautiful. And, I guess when you're telling me that, I feel just a reconnection to the complexity of the universe, how it's all connected. And sometimes
Yes.
we don't know how, we're giving out service or, good positive energy, and then it comes back in such beautiful, miraculous forms. And it's like, I just really trust the process, and I love hearing stories like that because it just reaffirms, the goodness of not only men but the universe and of you, and just how it's all so interconnected.
So true, so true. I will remember that, of course, especially always. What a great experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Connie, focusing a little more on your business, how have you been able to increase your income as you've been following this intuitive guidance and really build your practice out?
Well, one of the things, surprisingly, is how much to charge. It's a
Hmm.
difficult topic for a
Yeah.
lot of people who are in the spiritual world who really do believe that they've been given a gift to share.
Mhm.
Maybe because I have corporate background, I jumped in at a certain place and I felt fine about it. But it took me many years to realize that actually what I was offering was at a higher value. And it's hard to know what that dollar amount is because there's not really a precedence out there, not really, because every healer is unique and everyone who uses their intuition is unique. But one of the things that I've listened to my intuition about is what to charge. And for instance, if I'm doing a big space clearing and it's very unique, I may be doing a business space clearing where I also profile employees and help the owner know if his people are in the right position and, what this one needs, what that one needs. That's all very unique. It's not cookie cutter. Every situation is different. So that's when I'll get quiet and I'll sit there and I'll tap in and I'll just ask the universe, please help me, guide me. I need to know what is fair for that client and for me. For me as well, though. See, not just for the client. I have to feel good about this exchange too, or else we're out of balance.
Mhm.
So I trust my intuition in guiding me with specialized pricing, but also when it was time to have a price increase, for my regular services. And because I feel spirit guided me, I feel perfectly comfortable with it.
Hmm. So again, I'm going to ask you to take a few steps back, Connie, for people who are maybe just starting to set their prices or just starting to be in business. What would you tell them to do as far as just getting a baseline and feeling really comfortable, with trusting their intuition and setting a price? What advice would you give them?
Well, because I am so invested in the psychic realm and the etheric realm, I have a pendulum. Now, not everybody's going to do this, but I have a pendulum. And, you can create your own little graph with different numbers on it. And now you're tapping into your higher self, so your higher self will never guide you wrong. And you hold your pendulum over your graph, where the numbers go from left to right, what you're going to charge, different increments, and you ask for guidance from your higher self. What is a fair rate for my service for what I do per hour, or however the person is regulating it? But that's just a fun little thing that I do. But let me tell you, it's right there because it is my higher self guiding me. It's my vibration that moves the pendulum, so it's got to be right on. I trust it.
Yeah, and probably trusting your gut feeling and your intuition. If you don't happen to have a pendulum, I always say what feels right. And
Yes.
earlier this morning we were talking about, if something feels light, it's usually true for you, and if it feels heavy, it's usually not. So something as simple as that. Would you agree with that,
I
Connie?
would, I would. Yes, and maybe I wouldn't call it light or heavy, but it's along the same line. If I feel uplifted, if I get this sort of almost like a goosebumply, wonderful feeling, to me
Mhm.
that's always a truth. That always represents a truth.
Yeah.
And and I guess I would call it heavy if I feel kind of pulled down, then I'm like, not so much, not so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as you have raised your prices and built your practice and created this income, how have you seen it positively affect your life as you've allowed yourself to receive more? Have you noticed that you have more to give back, or what is it that you've noticed in your business?
Well, that's a great question. As I have grown intuitively, and my abilities do continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger because I take better and better care of myself. So there's an exchange, right? I'm going to the gym, I eat well, all those things we talked about, get plenty of rest. As I invest in myself and am able to offer more because my abilities become increased, I don't feel too great if I don't raise my rates to be commensurate with that, because then I feel like I'm out of balance. And even though I know I'm doing a better job, better and better and better, if I don't have it be balanced, then I feel a little, I'm not even sure what the word is, but I will kind of say to myself later, I didn't charge enough for that. And I can just feel it. I can just tell I didn't. As I've increased my prices, no one has questioned it, which is great feedback, right? No one has questioned it. As a matter of fact, in some ways, I think business has increased because at that energetic level, I'm saying I value this, what I'm sharing with you, which allows them to feel it in return.
Absolutely. And Connie, I really feel like you said it when you talked about the self-care and the self-love, because when you are taking care of yourself and you're investing in yourself and valuing yourself and recognizing the gifts that you bring, and this is for everyone, when you really take the time to nurture and care for yourself, you see the value you bring, and then that's the energetic vibration you send out to other people, and so they're mirroring that back. And I've done the same thing. I mean, I started when I was 19. I've raised prices, throughout the year to thousands of dollars, and I understand how it works. And when I'm in that centered place of love and congruency, people don't question. But if you are in incongruence at all or not in alignment, that's when you might get that mirrored back. But when you're coming from that solid place of love and self-care and investing, you bring that quality out and you're congruent, and it gets mirrored right back to you.
Absolutely. And you also create a greater system of referrals. Most of my clients at this point are referrals. So by the time they call me, they've already heard something about the effect of the work that I do. So it's beautiful. You couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I love that. So, Connie, is there anything special you want to share with our audience about what you do and how you feel it could apply to our audience?
Well, I think it can apply to every living being. I started and still do cut energetic cords. I believe that when we jump into this life, that from a soul stance, from the soul perspective, we choose our parents. We choose them wisely based on what imprints they will place upon us, emotional, energetic imprints. So we jump in, we forget all that, and even when we have traumatic childhoods like my own, those imprints are actually quite purposeful. So when a person gets to a place where they have perhaps been to therapy, they've been in meditation, they're really trying, and maybe even through therapy they have a great intellectual grasp on what the problem is, but they can't free themselves from making the same, let's say, unhealthy choices. That then can be greatly advanced by having that energetic cord to usually that core level person, mom, dad, original caretakers, having that cord cut. Sometimes the cord goes back to past life because I believe we continue the healing from life to life to life. So cutting energetic cords, I mean, can you think of anyone maybe who doesn't or hasn't had a cord? We all have cords. We imprint our animals. We imprint our children. We got imprinted. It's the human condition.
Right.
And when a cord is cut, it literally gives you the buoyancy to step forward with what you may already have learned intellectually, but now without so much energetic emotional charge. So the things that used to press your buttons are not as intense. And then you get some space so that then you can start to really learn and sort of assimilate what you've learned into a place where now you're walking with greater compassion for yourself and for other people, and certainly begin to start growing again. That's the primary basis of what I do, but there's so many other things. Moving energy, whether it's within a human being, a space, anything. When energy gets stagnant or blocked, or if it's been imprinted by very heavy and sometimes even what we might even call darker energies, those things don't belong there. They mess with our energetic field. So sometimes I have to clear what I call entities from people's energetic field. These are energies that really don't belong to them. They're actually probably taking a ride on the railroad. They're sucking your energy. They may be causing fatigue or all kind of illnesses and problems. That needs to be removed safely and disposed of safely. A lot of people dabble in this, but if they're not grounded and they don't know how to take care of what it is they're removing, they could cause more problems than they solve. So it is important, and thank you for the compliment you gave me early on about being grounded. That's the thing I feel most proud of, even though I know I have many, many gifts. Being grounded is probably the biggest challenge.
It is. Anybody who is, developing their intuition or naturally intuitive or whatever, wherever level you're at, I would absolutely say being grounded is probably one of the most challenging, but the best thing you can do for yourself, because you are
Yeah.
opening to such high frequency energies. To stay in your
Yes.
body and grounded will
Yeah.
get you a long way, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Connie, I'm wondering, as far as cord cutting, can you explain that a little bit? Because, you are releasing the energy, but you're not, I don't know how to say, you're not letting go of things that you need. It's not like you're disconnecting, but you're more like releasing, if you want to describe that a little bit. You kind of already did, but in detail a little bit more so they know the
Sure.
difference.
Yeah, yeah, great question. So if I were to look into someone, usually within the first 5 minutes they're with me, when I close my eyes and I connect with their energy, I can feel right away where the biggest cord, and there may be many, but where the biggest cord is attached. Excuse me. And usually it will be mother or father, and so I will bring that to their attention. And so it's usually not a big surprise to them because they know that they have perhaps a difficult relationship with that person. Sometimes, however, it is a surprise. It's very secondary, it's very hidden and buried, but it still regulates their life and some of their maybe poor choices. So I like to think of it this way, Abby. When you cut a cord, it's like removing an energetic anchor from your ankles. You've been walking through life, have a job, relationship, all that stuff, but it's a struggle. So if we remove this heavy weight, all of a sudden now the movement you make is more fluid. It's not as heavy. You don't go forward 2 steps and back 3. You're continuing to go forward. It doesn't erase your past because, as you said, your past serves a purpose. And you need your past because it's what you jumped into to continue your healing. So it doesn't erase that. But if you no longer have your buttons pressed or feel that energetic charge, say when you're around an ex, let's even use an ex relationship. You don't want to run into him. Oh my God, you don't want to hear that he's got a new girlfriend or she's got a new boyfriend. Once the cord has been cut, you can be in the presence of that person, still acknowledge whatever happened, good or bad, and it's actually all good, without getting sucked in, without going to that crazy thinking in your head, like, I'm going to drive past his house, or I'm going to, do this or do that. You don't go there. You're released from that. And then it gives you the space and the freedom to say, okay, now why did I pull that in? Why did I attract that? The law of attraction is alive and well. There is no way that I can say that I didn't attract that because I did. Vibrationally, I did. Why? You can't figure out the why so much when you're still so sucked in, but when the cord is cut, now I can breathe a little bit. Now I can say, oh, there is a reason.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look at that. Let me do some more clearing so I don't repeat it. Pull in a new person with a different pair of pants. I want to clear this.
That's cute. Yeah, the word that comes to mind is neutralize. You just kind of neutralize the energy so you're in control of it, per se. It's not running you.
Perfectly said. I like that. Yes, I would agree.
Very cool. That's awesome. I love that. Well, what a great gift to be able to do that for people. And it's so empowering, when you can see something for what it is and then choose consciously how you want to move forward in that. That's really beautiful.
It's a lot of fun. I really like working with couples. When I work with couples, we take each one and we look for the cord. Now, and they're the presence of their mate. So it's very healing for us to sit with someone and realize that there's something behind that behavior. They're not just spoiled or having temper tantrums. There's something that's really hurting them and bothering them. It creates a lot of compassion. So you discover what the cords are while they're sitting together, but individually. And then it gets woven together. Now, Mary, I can show you why you pulled in Bob. This is just perfect. You are perfect for each other, even though you've been at each other. Look at the perfection of the dance. Now let's cut these cords and let's continue to move forward in a healing way together. It's really gratifying.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's not so much about the people, it's the energy that's not working, but the two people still work. The two hearts are connected. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's really beautiful. I love that. So, Connie, is there a way people can find out more about you? Do you have a free gift or a website you can refer us to?
Well, I do have a website. It's www.soulsync.com, SOUL sync.com. As far as a free gift, I don't think that I would say that I have anything formalized. But if someone goes to my website and they bother to pick up the phone and call me, I'm happy to just chat with them for a bit and just find out what it is that they're searching for, and maybe shed a little light on, whether it is something that I could help with, or maybe someone else would be better. Just sort of an informal little chat to see if they feel comfortable with the energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. It's funny. I've had consultations before, and I find it's the same way. It's kind of like we were calling it virtual tea the other day. It's just kind of like you make
Yeah.
a connection, and we were actually with Brenda McIntyre talking about, you have soul contracts, and if it feels right, it feels right, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But just to create that invitation. So I really
You're
appreciate
right.
you
You're
offering
right.
that.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Thank you. Well, like you and I, we had that fabulous
Yeah,
connection right away. Yeah,
absolutely.
we just knew. Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I was like, just to let everybody know, when I first connected with her, I was like, Connie, I feel like I'm sitting on the top of a cloud with you, just hanging out, having tea. Like, it was just really fun. So,
Oh, it's fun.
it is. The connections are always amazing. So, well, thank you everyone for joining. It's always a pleasure, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.